Serafina stood in the grand hall of Ashford Manor, her hands trembling behind her back where no one could see. The marble floor beneath her feet felt cold even through her worn shoes. She kept her chin high. She would not let him see her fear. Across from her, Duke Thorne of Blackwater leaned against the mantel like he owned the world. Maybe he did. His dark hair caught the firelight. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes, cold, grey, calculating, watched her like a hawk watches a mouse. "I'll say it again, Miss Ashford," he said. His voice was smooth as silk and just as dangerous. "Marry me, or I will destroy everything your family has left." Serafina's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the blood rushing in her ears. Behind her, she heard her mother's soft gasp. Her younger sister Lily clutched her hand. Her father sat in his chair by the window, silent and pale. This man had already taken so much. Her father's business, their estate, their good name in society. Now he wanted more. He wanted her. "Why?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. "Why me? You could have any woman in England." Thorne pushed off the mantle. He walked toward her, slow and deliberate. Each step echoed in the silent room. He stopped just close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. "Because you're the only one who ever said no to me," he said. His lips curved into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "And because your father owes me more than he could repay in 10 lifetimes. Serafina's nails bit into her palms. She wanted to slap him. She wanted to scream, but she couldn't. Not with her family watching, not with everything at stake. "And if I refuse?" she asked. Thorne tilted his head. "Then by tomorrow morning the world will know every shameful secret your father has been hiding. The debts, the gambling, the forged documents." He paused. "Your sister will never marry. Your mother will be shunned. And your father—" He glanced at the broken man by the window. "Well, debtor's prison is not kind to men his age." Serafina felt something crack inside her chest. Rage, maybe. Or despair. She couldn't tell anymore. She looked at her family. Her mother's face was wet with tears. Lily's eyes were wide and frightened. Her father wouldn't even look at her. They needed her. They had always needed her. She turned back to Thorne. She lifted her chin higher. And then she did something he clearly didn't expect. She smiled. "Fine," she said. Her voice was steady and cold. "I'll marry you, Duke Thorne." His eyebrows rose slightly. Surprise flickered across his face. "But you'll regret it," she added. Her smile widened. "I promise you that." For just a moment, something shifted in his expression. Confusion, maybe. Or was it respect? But then his mask slid back into place. "We'll see about that, Miss Ashford," he said. "The wedding will be in 3 weeks." He turned and walked toward the door. His boots clicked against the marble. He didn't look back. When the door closed behind him, Serafina's mother rushed to her side. "Oh, darling, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do," Serafina said. She pulled her hand free gently. "It's already done." She walked to her father's chair. She knelt beside him. His hands shook in his lap. "Papa," she whispered, "look at me." Slowly, her father raised his eyes. They were red and hollow. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "I'm so sorry, my girl." Serafina took his hands. "It's all right. I'll fix this. I promise." But she didn't know how. Not yet. She only knew one thing for certain. Duke Thorne had made a mistake when he threatened her family. He thought he was buying a weak, frightened bride. Instead, he'd just made an enemy. And Serafina Ashford never forgot an enemy. Also, Serafina sat alone in her room. The fire had burned down to embers. Shadows danced on the walls. She stared at the letter in her hands, the letter her father had hidden for months. It was from a bank in London. It listed every debt, every lie, every crime her father had committed to keep their family afloat. And at the bottom, signed in bold ink, was the name of the man who owned it all. Duke Thorn of Blackwater. Seraphina's hands shook with rage. He'd planned this, all of it. He'd let her father dig himself deeper and deeper into debt. He'd waited like a spider in a web, and when the time was right, he'd struck. But why? What did he gain from marrying her? She folded the letter carefully. She tucked it into the drawer of her desk. Then she pulled out a fresh piece of paper and began to write. If Thorn thought she would be a quiet, obedient wife, he was wrong. She would marry him. She would play the part, but she would also uncover every secret he had. And when the time was right, she would destroy him the way he'd destroyed her family. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. The door opened. Lily stepped inside, her long brown hair loose around her shoulders. She looked so young in her nightgown, just 17, still innocent. "I couldn't sleep," Lily said quietly. Seraphina set down her pen. "Come here." Lily crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed. Her eyes were red from crying. "You don't have to do this, Sarah," she whispered. "We can find another way." Seraphina took her sister's hand. "There is no other way. You heard him. He owns everything." "But you'll be trapped," Lily said. Her voice broke. "Married to a man you hate." Seraphina squeezed her hand. "I won't be trapped. I'll be inside his world, close enough to find his weaknesses, close enough to fight back." Lily searched her face. "You're planning something." "I'm always planning something," Seraphina said with a small smile. Lily didn't smile back. "Be careful, Sarah. Men like him, they don't lose." "Then I'll be the first to beat him," Seraphina said. But deep down, she wasn't sure if she believed it. 3 days later, Seraphina received a summons to Blackwater Hall, Thorn's estate. The message was brief and cold. He wanted to discuss the wedding arrangements. She arrived by carriage in the late afternoon. Blackwater Hall rose from the countryside like a fortress. Dark stone walls, tall towers, windows that glittered like eyes. It looked like the kind of place where secrets went to hide. A butler met her at the door. He was tall and thin with a face like carved stone. He didn't smile. "Miss Ashford," he said with a stiff bow. "His Grace is waiting in the library." Seraphina followed him through the halls. Everything was dark wood and heavy curtains. Portraits of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls. They seemed to judge her as she passed. The library was at the end of a long corridor. The butler opened the door and stepped aside. Seraphina walked in. The room was massive. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, packed with books. A fire crackled in the hearth. And in the center of it all, sitting behind a desk, was Thorn. He didn't look up when she entered. He was reading something. A letter, maybe, or a contract. His brow was furrowed in concentration. For a moment, Seraphina just watched him. In the firelight, he looked almost human. Not the monster who'd threatened her family. Just a man. Then he glanced up, and the illusion shattered. "Miss Ashford," he said. He set down the paper. "Punctual. I appreciate that." "I didn't think I had a choice," she replied coolly. His lips twitched, almost a smile. "You don't." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." She did, keeping her back straight and her hands folded in her lap. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her nervous. Thorn leaned back in his chair. He studied her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "You surprised me the other day," he said. "Did I?" "Yes. I expected tears, begging perhaps. But instead, you smiled." He tilted his head. "Why?" Seraphina met his gaze without flinching. "Because I decided something." "And what was that?" "That if I'm going to be your wife," she said slowly, "then you're going to be my husband. And husbands can be Inconvenient. Thorne's eyes narrowed. Is that a threat, Miss Ashford? It's a promise, Your Grace. For a long moment, silence filled the room. The fire crackled. The clock on the mantel ticked. Then Thorne laughed. It was a low, genuine sound. It surprised her. You have spirit, he said. Good. I was worried you'd be boring. Serafina's jaw tightened. I'm so glad I can entertain you. Oh, you will, he said. His smile faded. But let me be clear, Miss Ashford. Spirit is one thing. Disobedience is another. You will marry me. You will behave as a duchess should. And you will not embarrass me. Or what? She challenged. You'll ruin my family? You've already done that. No, Thorne said quietly. I've threatened to. There's a difference. Serafina froze. What do you mean? Thorne leaned forward. His gray eyes locked onto hers. I mean that your father's secrets are still safe. For now. But if you cross me, if you try anything foolish, I will release every document, every letter, every piece of evidence I have. Do you understand? Serafina's blood ran cold. He was holding her family hostage. Still, even after she'd agreed. I understand, she said through gritted teeth. Good, Thorne stood. The wedding will be small, immediate family only. I've already made the arrangements. He walked around the desk, stopping just in front of her chair. He looked down at her, his expression unreadable. You'll move into Blackwater Hall the day after the ceremony, he said. Your family will remain at Ashford Manor. I'll forgive their debts. They'll be comfortable. Serafina's throat tightened. How generous. I can be generous, Thorne said, when I get what I want. He reached out. For a moment she thought he was going to touch her face. Her heart hammered. But instead, he picked up a small box from the desk behind her. He opened it. Inside was a ring, a thick band of gold with a dark emerald stone. This was my mother's, he said. He pulled the ring from the box. It's yours now. Before she could protest, he took her left hand. His fingers were warm against her skin. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Serafina stared at it. The emerald gleamed in the firelight like a trapped star. There, Thorne said. Now it's official. He let go of her hand and stepped back. You may go. I'll send word about the ceremony. Serafina stood. Her legs felt unsteady, but she forced herself to walk calmly to the door. She paused at the threshold and looked back. Thorne had returned to his desk. He was reading again, as if she'd already ceased to exist. Your Grace, she said. He glanced up. You said I surprised you, she said. You should remember that, because I'm going to keep surprising you. She didn't wait for a response. She turned and walked out. But she didn't know that Thorne watched her go with something almost like admiration in his eyes. Something almost like fear. The morning of the wedding was grey and cold. Rain tapped against the windows of Ashford Manor like impatient fingers. Serafina stood in front of the mirror while her mother fastened the buttons on her dress. The gown was beautiful. Ivory silk with lace sleeves, a long train, a veil that fell like a waterfall down her back. It felt like a costume. You look like an angel, her mother whispered. Her eyes were wet with tears. Serafina forced a smile. I don't feel like one. Her mother's hands stilled. Sarah, are you sure about this? Serafina met her mother's eyes in the mirror. No, but it's too late now. A soft knock came at the door. Lily stepped inside, carrying a bouquet of white roses. It's time, she said quietly. Serafina took a deep breath. She turned away from the mirror. She took the bouquet from Lily's hands. Let's get this over with, she said. The ceremony was held in the small chapel on the Blackwater estate. Just as Thorne had promised, only immediate family attended. Her parents, Lily, and on Thorn's side, no one. Serafina found that strange. A duke with no family, no friends. What kind of man was he? The chapel was dim and smelled of old stone and candle wax. Serafina walked down the aisle alone. Her father had offered, but she'd refused. She didn't want his guilt weighing on her. At the altar, Thorn waited. He wore a black suit that made him look even more severe. His face was unreadable. When she reached him, he didn't smile. He simply held out his hand. She placed hers in it. His grip was firm and warm. It steadied her more than she wanted to admit. The priest began. His voice echoed in the empty chapel. The words blurred together. Love, honor, obey. Serafina barely heard them. She was too focused on the man beside her, on the way his jaw tightened when the priest mentioned love, on the way his thumb brushed, just once, against the back of her hand. Was it deliberate? Or an accident? She couldn't tell. Do you, Duke Thorn Alexander of Blackwater, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Thorn said. His voice was steady. And do you, Miss Serafina Rose Ashford, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Serafina hesitated, just for a heartbeat. Then she said, I do. Then by the power vested in me, the priest said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. He closed his book. You may kiss the bride. Thorn turned to her. For the first time she saw something flicker in his eyes. Uncertainty, maybe. He leaned down slowly. She stood frozen, her heart pounding. His lips brushed hers. Soft, brief, over in a second. But the warmth of it lingered long after he pulled away. It's done, he murmured. Just for her. Serafina swallowed. Yes, it's done. The wedding breakfast was quiet and awkward. They sat at opposite ends of a long table in Blackwater Hall's dining room. Her family tried to make conversation, but Thorn barely responded. Serafina pushed food around her plate. She wasn't hungry. Finally, Thorn stood. I have business to attend to. Serafina, your belongings will be moved to your rooms this afternoon. He left without another word. Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Give him time, darling. Perhaps he'll soften. Serafina doubted it. That evening, Serafina stood in her new bedroom. It was enormous. A 4-poster bed dominated the center. Heavy curtains framed the windows. A fireplace crackled with fresh logs. It was beautiful. And it felt like a cage. A door on the far wall caught her attention. She walked over and opened it. Beyond was another room, darker, more masculine. A large desk, shelves of books, and in the center, a bed with black sheets. Thorn's room. Her heart skipped. Their rooms were connected. Before she could process that, the door to the hallway opened. Thorn stepped inside. He'd changed out of his formal clothes. Now he wore a simple white shirt and dark trousers. His sleeves were rolled up, revealing strong forearms. He stopped when he saw her. His eyes flicked to the open door between their rooms. I should have mentioned, he said. Our chambers are adjoined. I see that, Serafina said carefully. Should I lock the door? Thorn's jaw tightened. If it makes you feel safer. It's not about safety, she said. It's about privacy. Then by all means lock it, he said. His tone was cold. I have no intention of forcing myself on you if that's what you're worried about. Serafina blinked. She hadn't expected that. Then why connect the rooms? She asked. Thorn hesitated. For a moment he looked almost uncomfortable. Tradition, he said finally. The Duke and Duchess of Blackwater have always had connected rooms. I see, Serafina said. She didn't believe him. Thorn crossed his arms. I came to tell you that I'll be away for a few days. Business in London. Already? She asked before she could stop herself. His eyebrow rose. Missing me already, wife? Not at all, she said quickly. I was just surprised. Get used to it, Thorn said. I'm off and away. He turned to leave. Thorn, she called. He paused, looked back. Why did you really force me to marry you? She asked. The truth. For a long moment he just stared at her. Then he said, because I could. And he walked out. Serafina stood alone in the silent room, her hands curled into fists. She wanted to scream, to throw something, but instead she walked to the door between their rooms, and she locked it. 3 days passed. Thorn didn't return from London. Serafina was alone in Blackwater Hall except for the servants, who moved like ghosts through the corridors. She spent the time exploring. The house was enormous, rooms upon rooms, some locked, some empty, some filled with dusty furniture covered in white sheets. It felt like a place where people came to disappear. On the 4th day, Serafina found the gallery. It was on the 2nd floor, hidden behind a door she'd thought was a closet. Inside, portraits lined the walls. Generations of Blackwater ancestors stared down at her with serious faces. She walked slowly along the wall, studying each one. Lords and ladies, soldiers, scholars. And then she stopped. At the end of the row was a portrait of a woman. She was young, perhaps Serafina's age. She had dark hair and soft eyes. She wore a green dress that matched the emerald on Serafina's finger. Beneath the portrait was a small brass plate. Lady Annabel Thorn, Duchess of Blackwater, beloved wife, gone too soon. Serafina's breath caught. Thorn had been married before. You shouldn't be in here. She spun around. Thorn stood in the doorway. His coat was wet from rain. His hair was mussed. He looked exhausted. I was just exploring, Serafina stammered. Thorn's eyes moved to the portrait behind her. His expression went cold and hard. Get out, he said quietly. Thorn, I didn't know. Get out. Serafina's heart raced, but she lifted her chin. No. His eyes snapped to hers. What did you say? I said no, Serafina repeated. Her voice shook, but she held her ground. I'm your wife now. This is my home. I have a right to know about the woman who came before me. Thorn crossed the room in 3 long strides. He stopped just inches from her. His eyes burned with something dark and dangerous. You have no rights, he said. His voice was low and lethal. You are here because I allow it. Don't forget that. Serafina's breath came fast, but she didn't back down. Who was she? She asked. Thorn's jaw clenched. None of your concern. You gave me her ring, Serafina said. She held up her hand. The emerald glittered. You put me in her rooms. You made me your wife. I think that makes it my concern. For a moment she thought he might explode. His hands curled into fists. His chest rose and fell with sharp breaths. But then, something shifted. The anger drained from his face, replaced by something worse. Grief. She was my wife, he said quietly. She died 2 years ago. Serafina's heart twisted. How? Thorn turned away. He walked to the window and stared out at the rain. Fever, he said. It took her in 3 days. I couldn't save her. Serafina's throat tightened. She'd expected cruelty from this man, arrogance, but not this, not pain so raw it bled through his words. I'm sorry, she whispered. Thorn laughed bitterly. Are you? Or are you just trying to find a weakness? Serafina flinched. I wouldn't use someone's grief as a weapon. Wouldn't you? Thorn turned back to her. His eyes were cold again. You hate me. You said so yourself. You said I'd regret marrying you. I do hate you, Serafina said honestly. But not for this. Thorn stared at her. She couldn't read his expression. Get out, he said again. But this time his voice was tired, empty. Serafina hesitated, then she walked to the door. She paused on the threshold. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "I think she would have wanted you to move on." She didn't wait for a response. She left him alone with his ghosts. But later that night, lying in her bed, Serafina couldn't stop thinking about the portrait, about the sadness in Thorn's eyes, about the fact that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the monster she'd thought. And that terrified her more than anything. The next morning, Serafina woke to a knock on her door. A maid entered with a tray, tea, toast, and a single white rose in a glass vase. "From His Grace," the maid said shyly. Serafina stared at the rose. No note, no explanation, just the flower. What did it mean? She didn't see Thorn for the rest of the day, but that evening, when she came down for dinner, she found him waiting in the dining room. He stood when she entered. "Serafina." She blinked. He'd never used her first name before. "Your Grace," she said carefully. He pulled out a chair. "Sit, please." She did, watching him warily. Thorn took his own seat. For a moment, he just looked at her. Then he said, "I owe you an apology." Serafina's eyes widened. "You... what?" "An apology," he repeated. "I was cruel yesterday. You didn't deserve that." Serafina didn't know what to say. She'd expected anger, coldness, but not this. "I didn't mean to intrude," she said finally. "I should have asked permission." "No," Thorn said. "You were right. This is your home now. You should know its history." He paused. "And mine." Serafina's heart beat faster. "Why did you marry me, Thorn? Really?" Thorn set down his glass. He met her eyes. "Because I was alone," he said quietly, "and I was tired of being alone." The honesty of it stole her breath. "But you blackmailed me," she said. "You threatened my family." "I know." Thorn's jaw tightened. "I'm not proud of it, but I didn't know another way." "You could have courted me," Serafina said, "like a normal person." "And would you have said yes?" Serafina opened her mouth, then closed it. Because he was right. She wouldn't have. "You're a duke," she said instead. "You could have any woman." "I didn't want any woman," Thorn said. "I wanted someone strong, someone who wouldn't break, someone who would fight back." He leaned forward. "I wanted you." Serafina's breath caught. The way he said it, low and intense, made her skin tingle. "That doesn't make it right," she said. "No," Thorn agreed. "It doesn't." Silence fell between them, but it was different now, softer, less hostile. "I saw you at a ball once," Thorn said suddenly. 2 years ago, you were dancing with some pompous lord. He said something and you laughed, but it wasn't real. I could tell." Serafina frowned. "I don't remember that." "I do," Thorn said. "I remember thinking you looked like you were drowning, like you were pretending to be someone you weren't." Serafina's chest tightened, because he was right. She'd spent so many years pretending, being the perfect daughter, the responsible sister, the obedient lady. "And you thought marrying you would fix that?" she asked. "No," Thorn said. "I thought marrying you would give you a reason to stop pretending." Serafina stared at him. She didn't know if she wanted to slap him or kiss him. "That's the most arrogant thing I've ever heard," she said. Thorn's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Probably." Despite herself, Serafina felt her own lips curve. And for the first time since the wedding, they ate dinner together without hostility. They talked, about books, about the estate, about nothing important. But it felt important. It felt like the beginning of something. That night, Serafina couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, watching the moon rise over the gardens. The ring on her finger caught the light. She twisted it absently. She thought about Thorn, about the sadness in his eyes, about the way he'd said, I wanted you. A soft sound made her turn. The door between their rooms was open, just a crack. Thorn stood in the doorway. He wore only his shirt sleeves and trousers. His hair was disheveled. I couldn't sleep either, he said. Seraphina's heart skipped. Thorn, I'm not here to seduce you, he said quickly. I wanted to make sure you were all right. I'm fine, she said. He nodded, but he didn't leave. He stepped into the room, slowly, carefully. I meant what I said earlier, he said, about being alone. I've been alone for a long time, Seraphina. Even when Annabelle was alive, I was alone. Seraphina's throat tightened. Why? Thorn looked away. Because I loved her, but she didn't love me. Not really. She loved the title, the estate, the life I could give her, but not me. Thorn, Seraphina whispered. I thought maybe with you it could be different, he said. His voice was raw, vulnerable. I thought maybe if I forced you, if I kept you close, you'd see me. Really see me. Seraphina's eyes burned with unshed tears. That's not how it works. I know, Thorn said. He finally looked at her. But I didn't know what else to do. For a long moment, they just stood there. Two people trapped in a marriage neither had wanted. Two people carrying more pain than anyone could see. I see you now, Seraphina said softly. Thorn's breath hitched. Do you? Yes, she said. I see a man who's hurt. A man who's scared. A man who's trying so hard to be strong that he's forgotten how to be human. Thorn closed his eyes. Seraphina. She crossed the room. She stopped in front of him, and then, before she could think better of it, she reached up and touched his face. His eyes flew open. He stared at her, shock written all over his features. I still don't forgive you, she said. But I understand you. A little. Thorn's hand came up. He covered hers, pressed it against his cheek. That's more than I deserve, he whispered. Probably, Seraphina agreed. And then, somehow, they were closer. His other hand was on her waist. Her breath was coming fast. His eyes were dark and intense and locked on hers. Seraphina, he said. It sounded like a question. She should say no. She should step back. But she didn't. Instead, she rose on her toes and kissed him. It was nothing like the brief touch at their wedding. This was real. This was fire and need, and something neither of them could name. Thorn's arms came around her. He pulled her closer. His lips moved against hers like he was drowning and she was air. Seraphina's hands tangled in his hair. She kissed him back with everything she had, all her anger, all her fear, all her confusion. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Seraphina started. Don't, Thorn said. Don't think. Not tonight. He kissed her again. Softer this time. Tender. And Seraphina let herself fall. Just for tonight. Morning came too soon. Seraphina woke tangled in sheets that weren't hers, in a bed that wasn't hers, with a man who was her husband, but still felt like a stranger. Thorn was already awake. He sat on the edge of the bed, his back to her. The morning light painted him in gold and shadow. Thorn, she said softly. He didn't turn. I have to go to London again. Seraphina's chest tightened. When? Today. Oh. She pulled the sheet up to her chin. How long? A week, maybe more. Silence stretched between them. Last night felt like a dream, or a mistake. She wasn't sure which. Thorn, about last night. It doesn't change anything, he said. His voice was flat. We're still trapped, both of us. Seraphina flinched. Is that what you think this is? A trap? Thorn finally turned to look at her. His eyes were guarded again. The vulnerability from last night was gone. Isn't it? He asked. Seraphina didn't have an answer. Thorn stood. He pulled on his shirt. I'll send word when I return. And then he was gone. Serafina sat alone in his bed, feeling more confused than ever. A week passed. Then 2. Thorn didn't return. He didn't send word. Serafina tried not to care. She told herself she was glad to be alone, glad to be free of him. But the truth was, she missed him. The talks over dinner, the way he looked at her, the way he'd kissed her like she was something precious. She hated herself for missing him. To distract herself, she threw herself into running the estate. The staff seemed surprised at first, but they warmed to her quickly. She learned the tenants' names. She visited the farms. She ordered repairs to the old mill. She made Blackwater Hall a home. One afternoon, while going through the estate's accounts, she found something strange. Payments to a name she didn't recognize. Large sums, regularly. Mr. Edmund Hartley. She asked the steward about it. He went pale. That's a private matter, Your Grace. I'm the Duchess, Serafina said firmly. Nothing is private from me. The steward hesitated. Then he said, Mr. Hartley is His Grace's solicitor, but the payments aren't for legal work. Then what are they for? I don't know, Your Grace. Only the Duke knows. Serafina's mind raced. What was Thorn paying for? And why keep it secret? She made a decision. If Thorn wouldn't tell her the truth, she'd find it herself. 3 days later, Serafina travelled to London. She told the staff she was visiting her family, but that was a lie. She went straight to the address listed for Mr. Edmund Hartley. It was a small office in a quiet corner of the city. She knocked. A thin man with spectacles answered. Can I help you? I'm looking for Mr. Hartley, Serafina said. That's me, he said. His eyes narrowed. Who are you? I'm the Duchess of Blackwater. Hartley's face went white. Your Grace, I wasn't expecting. I want to know why my husband pays you, Serafina said. And I want the truth. Hartley swallowed. I can't. It's confidential. I'm his wife, Serafina said. Tell me. Hartley looked torn. Then he sighed. Come inside. She followed him into a cramped office filled with papers and books. He gestured to a chair. Your husband, Hartley said carefully, has been paying me to track down information. What kind of information? About his first wife, Hartley said. Lady Annabel. Serafina's heart skipped. Why? Hartley hesitated. Because he doesn't believe she died of a fever. Serafina's blood ran cold. What? He thinks she was poisoned, Hartley said quietly. And he's been trying to prove it for 2 years. Serafina couldn't breathe. Who would poison her? That's what he's trying to find out, Hartley said. But whoever it was, they were careful. There's no evidence, no witnesses, nothing. Serafina's mind spun. No wonder Thorn was so cold, so distant. He wasn't just grieving, he was hunting a murderer. Does he have any suspects? She asked. Hartley looked uncomfortable. 1. Who? Your father. The world tilted. What? Your father owed the Duke money even then, Hartley said. And Lady Annabel was trying to convince His Grace to forgive the debt. The Duke refused. She died a week later. Serafina stood. Her legs shook. That's insane. My father would never. I'm just telling you what I know, Hartley said. The Duke thinks your father had motive. Serafina's chest felt tight. Is that why he married me? To get close to my family? Hartley said nothing, which was answer enough. Serafina turned and ran. She went straight to Blackwater Hall. She stormed through the doors. The butler tried to stop her, but she pushed past him. She found Thorn in his study. He looked up, startled. Serafina, I thought you were in London. You think my father killed your wife, she said. Her voice shook with rage. Thorn froze. How could you, she shouted. How could you marry me if you thought that? Thorn stood. Serafina, Let me explain. Explain what? She demanded. That you married me to torture him? To punish him? No! Thorn crossed the room. He tried to take her hands, but she jerked away. Don't touch me, she hissed. Serafina, please, Thorn said. His eyes were desperate. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She demanded. Tell me the truth. For once in your life, tell me the truth. Thorn's jaw worked. Then he said, I suspected him at first, yes, but I was wrong. Serafina stared at him. What? I was wrong, Thorn repeated. I investigated. I found proof. Your father didn't do it. Then who did? Serafina asked. I don't know, Thorn said, but it wasn't him. Serafina's anger faltered. If you knew he was innocent, why did you still blackmail him? Thorn looked away. Because I'd already started, and I didn't know how to stop. That's not an answer, Serafina said. Because I wanted you, Thorn shouted. All right? I wanted you, and I knew if I told you the truth, if I told you I'd suspected your father of murder, you'd never forgive me. So I kept it hidden. I thought maybe I could fix things. Maybe I could find the real killer and make everything right. Serafina's eyes burned. You should have told me. I know, Thorn said. His voice cracked. I know. I'm sorry. Serafina turned away. Tears streamed down her face. I can't do this. Serafina. I can't, she said. I can't be married to someone who lies, who manipulates, who plays games with people's lives. I'm not playing games anymore, Thorn said. I swear to you, I just want… What? Serafina turned back to him. What do you want, Thorn? You, he said simply. I just want you. Serafina's heart broke, because she wanted him too. Despite everything, despite the lies and the blackmail and the secrets. But wanting wasn't enough. I need time, she whispered. Thorn's face fell, but he nodded. All right. Serafina walked to the door. She paused. Find the killer, Thorn. Find out who really killed Annabelle. And then maybe we can talk. I will, Thorn said. I promise. Serafina left, and Thorn stood alone in the study, surrounded by his ghosts. For 3 weeks, Serafina stayed in the west wing of Blackwater Hall. Thorn stayed in the east. They passed each other in the halls like strangers, but at night, Serafina would lie awake and wonder what he was doing, if he was sleeping, if he was thinking about her. She hated that she cared. One evening, a maid brought her a message. It was from Thorn. I need to show you something. Please, meet me in the library. Serafina almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of her. She went. Thorn was waiting. He looked exhausted. His eyes were shadowed. His hair was mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. What is it? She asked coolly. Thorn gestured to the desk. It was covered in papers, letters, documents. I found something, he said. Serafina stepped closer. She looked at the papers. One was a letter addressed to Annabelle. The handwriting was elegant and looping. My dearest Annabelle, you must stop trying to convince him. He will never forgive the debt, and if you persist, you'll leave me no choice. I will protect our future, no matter the cost. Serafina's breath caught. Who wrote this? Lord Edmund Vale, Thorn said. Annabelle's cousin. I don't understand, Serafina said. Neither did I at first, Thorn said. But then I dug deeper. Vale was in debt too. Badly. And he was Annabelle's only living relative. If she died, he inherited her dowry. Serafina's eyes widened. He killed her for money. I think so, Thorn said, but I can't prove it. Not yet. Why show me this? Serafina asked. Thorn met her eyes. Because I need your help. Serafina's heart skipped. My help? Vale is hosting a ball next week, Thorn said. If I go, he'll be suspicious. But if we both go, as a happily married couple, we might be able to search his study. Find proof. Serafina shook her head. Thorn, that's dangerous. I know, he said, but it's the only way. Serafina looked at the letter again. She thought about Annabelle, about the portrait in the gallery, about a woman who died too young because someone wanted money. All right, she said. I'll help you. Thorn's eyes lit with something like hope. Thank you. But after this, Serafina said, I want the truth, about everything. No more secrets. No more secrets, Thorn agreed. The night of the ball, Serafina wore a gown of deep blue silk. Her hair was pinned up with diamond clips. The emerald ring glittered on her finger. Thorn wore a black suit with a silver waistcoat. He looked every inch the powerful duke. But when he saw her, he stopped. His eyes went wide. You look... He trailed off. What? Serafina asked. Beautiful, he said softly. You look beautiful. Serafina's cheeks warmed. Thank you. They travelled to Vale's estate in silence. The ball was already underway when they arrived. Music spilled from the open doors. Couples danced in the grand ballroom. Lord Edmund Vale greeted them at the entrance. He was tall and handsome, with cold blue eyes. Your Grace, he said to Thorn, and the new Duchess. How lovely to finally meet you. Serafina forced a smile. A pleasure, Lord Vale. Vale's eyes lingered on her a little too long. Thorn's hand tightened on her waist. Shall we dance? Thorn asked her pointedly. Of course, Serafina said. They moved onto the dance floor. Thorn pulled her close. His hand was warm on her back. Stay close to me, he murmured. Don't let him separate us. I won't, Serafina promised. They danced 3 songs. Then Thorn whispered, I'm going to find his study. Keep him distracted. How? Serafina hissed. You'll think of something, Thorn said. He kissed her temple. Be careful. And then he was gone, slipping into the crowd. Serafina's heart pounded. She looked around. Vale was watching her from across the room. She took a deep breath. Then she walked straight toward him. Lord Vale, she said brightly, would you honor me with a dance? Vale's eyebrows rose. I'd be delighted, Your Grace. He led her onto the floor. His hand was cold and clammy. Serafina suppressed a shiver. Your husband is a lucky man, Vale said as they moved. Thank you, Serafina said. Tell me, Vale said. His eyes were sharp. How did you two meet? I heard the courtship was quite sudden. Serafina's mind raced. It was love at first sight, she lied smoothly. Sometimes you just know. Vale said. How romantic. But he didn't sound like he believed her. The song ended. Vale bowed. Thank you for the dance, Your Grace. Serafina curtsied. She turned to leave. Vale's hand closed around her wrist. Actually, he said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. There's something I'd like to show you. A painting I recently acquired. I think you'd appreciate it. Serafina's pulse spiked. I really should find my husband. It will only take a moment, Vale said. His grip tightened. Serafina's heart raced. But she forced a smile. Of course. Vale led her out of the ballroom, down a corridor, away from the crowd. Serafina's mind screamed at her to run, but she needed to buy Thorn time. Vale opened a door. Inside was a small sitting room, dark, empty. Where's the painting? Serafina asked. Vale closed the door behind them. He locked it. There is no painting, he said. Serafina's blood turned to ice. Lord Vale. You're a terrible liar, Your Grace, Vale said. He stepped closer. Did you really think I wouldn't notice your husband sneaking away? Did you think I didn't know why you're here? Serafina backed up. I don't know what you mean. You're looking for proof, Vale said. Proof that I killed Annabelle, but you won't find it. I was very careful. Seraphina's breath came fast. You admit it? Why not? Vale shrugged. You're not leaving this room alive. He pulled a knife from his coat. Seraphina screamed. Thorn heard the scream from Vale's study. His blood turned to ice. Seraphina. He ran. He didn't think. He just ran. He found the sitting room. The door was locked. He slammed his shoulder against it. Once. Twice. On the third try, it broke open. Inside, Vale had Seraphina backed against the wall. The knife gleamed in his hand. Thorn saw red. He crossed the room in 2 strides. He grabbed Vale by the collar and threw him across the room. Vale hit the wall with a sickening thud. Thorn didn't stop. He went after him. His fists flew. Once. Twice. 3 times. Thorn, stop! Seraphina's voice cut through the haze. Thorn, you'll kill him! Thorn froze. His fists were bloody. Vale was unconscious on the floor. Slowly, Thorn stood. He turned to Seraphina. She was pale, shaking, but alive. Are you hurt? He asked. His voice was raw. No, she whispered. I'm all right. Thorn crossed to her. He pulled her into his arms. She was trembling. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I should never have brought you here. You couldn't have known, Seraphina said. I should have protected you, Thorn said. I should have. You did, Seraphina interrupted. She pulled back to look at him. You saved me. Thorn's eyes were wet. I thought I'd lost you. You didn't, Seraphina said. She touched his face. I'm here. I'm all right. Thorn kissed her, hard and desperate, like he needed to prove she was real. When they pulled apart, Seraphina said, Did you find the proof? Thorn pulled a sheaf of papers from his coat. Right here. Letters, receipts, everything we need. Seraphina let out a shaky breath. It's over. It's over, Thorn agreed. Behind them, Vale groaned. We should get the authorities, Seraphina said. Already done, Thorn said. I sent word before I came looking for you. And sure enough, moments later, constables arrived. They took Vale away in chains. Thorn and Seraphina stood in the empty room, holding each other. Let's go home, Thorn said. Seraphina nodded. Yes, let's go home. Back at Blackwater Hall, Seraphina sat by the fire in Thorn's study. He poured her a brandy. Her hands still shook. Drink, he said gently. She did. The warmth spread through her chest. Thorn sat beside her. He took her hand. I'm sorry, he said again. Stop apologizing, Seraphina said. It's not your fault. I put you in danger, Thorn said. I should have. Thorn, Seraphina interrupted. She turned to face him. I chose to help you. I knew the risks. Thorn's jaw tightened. Still nothing, Seraphina said. You did what you had to do. You found Annabelle's killer. You got justice for her. Thorn looked away. I don't know if it's justice. Nothing brings her back. No, Seraphina agreed. But at least now you know the truth. You can stop carrying that weight. Thorn's eyes met hers. I've been carrying a lot of weight. I know, Seraphina said softly. I lied to you, Thorn said. So many times. About your father, about why I married you, about everything. I know, Seraphina said again. Why are you still here? Thorn asked. His voice broke. Why haven't you left me? Seraphina took a deep breath. Because I understand you now. I understand that you were hurt and scared and alone. I understand that you made mistakes because you didn't know what else to do. That doesn't make it right, Thorn said. No, Seraphina agreed, but it makes it human. Thorn's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve you. Probably not, Seraphina said with a small smile, "but you're stuck with me anyway." Thorn let out a broken laugh. He pulled her into his arms. "I love you," he whispered. "I know I have no right to say that, but I do. I love you." Seraphina's heart stuttered. She pulled back to look at him. "Say it again." "I love you," Thorn repeated. His eyes were fierce. "I love you, Seraphina. I think I've loved you since the moment you smiled and told me I'd regret marrying you." Seraphina's eyes burned with tears. "You're ridiculous." "I know," Thorn said. "And arrogant." "I know." "And you blackmailed me into marrying you." "I know," Thorn said. His voice was thick. "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I swear it." Seraphina searched his face. She saw the truth there, the love, the regret, the hope. "I love you too," she whispered. Thorn went very still. "What?" "I love you," Seraphina said. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was that first dinner. Maybe it was when you gave me the rose. Maybe it was tonight when you broke down a door to save me. But I love you, Thorn." Thorn's breath hitched. Then he kissed her. It was soft and sweet and full of promise. It was a beginning. When they pulled apart, Seraphina said, "No more secrets." "No more secrets," Thorn agreed. "And no more lies." "No more lies." "And you have to let my family out of the debt," Seraphina said. "Completely." Thorn smiled. "Already done." Seraphina blinked. "What?" "I forgave it the day after we were married," Thorn said. "I just didn't tell you." Seraphina gaped at him. "Why not?" "Because I was afraid you'd leave," Thorn admitted. "If you knew your family was safe, I thought you'd have no reason to stay." Seraphina shook her head. "You really are an idiot." "I know," Thorn said, but he was smiling. Seraphina kissed him again. "I'm still angry with you." "I know," Thorn said against her lips, "and you're going to have to work very hard to earn my trust back." "I will," Thorn promised. "Every day. For the rest of our lives." "Good," Seraphina said. She pulled him closer, and for the first time since their wedding day, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. 3 months passed. Summer turned to autumn. The leaves at Blackwater Hall turned gold and red. Seraphina walked through the gardens, her hand in Thorn's. They did this every evening now, walking, talking, learning each other. "I was thinking," Thorn said, "we should host a ball." Seraphina looked at him in surprise. "You want to host a ball?" "I want to show you off," Thorn said. "Let society see what an amazing duchess I have." Seraphina laughed. "You're ridiculous." "You say that a lot," Thorn observed. "Because it's true," Seraphina said. Thorn pulled her close. "I prefer charmingly eccentric." "That's not a thing," Seraphina said. "It is now," Thorn said. He kissed her forehead. "So, what do you say? A ball?" Seraphina considered. "Only if we can invite my family." "Of course," Thorn said. "In fact, I already sent the invitation." Seraphina smiled. Thorn had been making an effort with her family. He'd visited her father and apologized. He'd promised to help rebuild the family business. He'd even danced with Lily at a small dinner party. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. "All right," Seraphina said. "Let's have a ball." The ball was magnificent. The entire estate was lit with candles. Music filled the air. Guests arrived in carriages, dressed in their finest. Seraphina wore a gown of emerald green, the same shade as her ring. Thorn couldn't take his eyes off her. "You're staring," she whispered as they greeted guests. "Can't help it," Thorn said. "You're stunning." Seraphina blushed. Even after 3 months, his compliments still made her heart flutter. The dancing began. Thorn led her onto the floor. They moved together perfectly, like they'd been doing this for years. "Happy?" Thorn asked. Serafina looked up at him, at the man who'd blackmailed her into marriage, the man who'd lied and manipulated and caused her so much pain, the man who'd also saved her, protected her, loved her. "Yes," she said, "I'm happy." Thorn's smile was radiant. "Good, because I have something for you." "Thorn, you already gave me a ball," Serafina said. "This is different," Thorn said. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded document. Serafina took it. She opened it carefully. It was a deed. To Ashford Manor. "What is this?" she asked. "I bought it back," Thorn said. "From the creditors. It's yours now. Your family's home." Serafina's eyes filled with tears. "Thorn." "I know it doesn't fix what I did," Thorn said, "but I wanted to give them back what they lost, what I took from them." Serafina threw her arms around his neck. She didn't care that they were in the middle of the dance floor. She didn't care that people were watching. "Thank you," she whispered. Thorn held her tight. "Anything for you." When they pulled apart, Serafina saw her family across the room. Her mother was crying. Her father looked stunned. Lily was beaming. "Did you tell them?" Serafina asked. "Not yet," Thorn said. "I wanted you to." Serafina kissed him, quick and sweet. Then she grabbed his hand. "Come on." They walked over to her family together. Serafina held out the deed. "Papa," she said, "Ashford Manor is yours again." Her father stared at the document, then at Thorn, then at Serafina. I don't understand," he stammered. "It's a gift," Thorn said, "and an apology. For everything." Serafina's mother started crying harder. Lily hugged Serafina so tight she could barely breathe. Her father stood slowly. He faced Thorn. For a long moment the two men just looked at each other. Then her father held out his hand. Thorn took it. "Thank you," her father said. His voice was thick. "Thank you." "Take care of it," Thorn said. "It's a good home." "We will," her father promised. Serafina watched them, her heart full. This was what she'd wanted. Her family safe, her home restored, and a man who was trying, really trying, to be better. Later that night, after the guests had gone, Serafina and Thorn stood on the balcony of their room. The stars were bright overhead. The air was cool and sweet. "Do you regret it?" Thorn asked suddenly. "Regret what?" Serafina asked. "Marrying me," Thorn said. "I know I forced you. I know you didn't want this." Serafina turned to face him. She took his hands. "I did regret it," she said honestly. "At first, I hated you. I wanted to hurt you the way you'd hurt me." Thorn flinched, but he didn't look away. "But then I got to know you," Serafina continued. "The real you, the man behind the title and the threats. And I realized something." "What?" Thorn asked. "That we're the same," Serafina said. "Both of us were trapped. Both of us were scared. Both of us were just trying to survive." Thorn's eyes were bright. "Serafina." "So no," she said. "I don't regret it. Not anymore." Thorn pulled her close. "I love you," he said. "So much." "I love you too," Serafina said, "even though you're ridiculous." Thorn laughed, a real, genuine laugh. "I suppose I am." "Charmingly eccentric," Serafina corrected with a smile. "There you go," Thorn said. He kissed her under the stars, and Serafina kissed him back, thinking about how strange life was. She'd started this marriage as a prisoner. Now she was free. She'd started hating this man. Now she loved him. She'd promised him he'd regret marrying her. And maybe he did, sometimes. But she didn't. Because this marriage, this strange, complicated, impossible marriage, had given her something she'd never expected. A home. A partner. A love that was messy and imperfect and real. And that was worth more than anything. The nursery at Blackwater Hall was filled with sunlight. Serafina sat in the rocking chair, cradling a small bundle wrapped in soft blankets. Thorn stood by the window, watching them with an expression of pure wonder. "She has your eyes," Serafina said softly. "And your stubbornness," Thorn said. "She's been awake for hours." Serafina smiled down at their daughter, little Annabel Rose, named for the woman who'd come before and for the woman who'd come after. "Do you think she would have been happy?" Serafina asked. "The first Annabel, if she knew." Thorn crossed the room. He knelt beside the rocking chair. "I think she would have been glad," he said, "that someone finally brought light back into this place." Serafina touched his face. "We brought it back together." "Together," Thorn agreed. Their daughter yawned. Her tiny fist waved in the air. Thorn caught it gently. She gripped his finger with surprising strength. "She's going to be trouble," Thorn said. "Like her father," Serafina said. "And her mother," Thorn countered. Serafina laughed. "Fair enough." She looked around the nursery, at the toys already piled in the corner, at the mobile hanging above the crib, at the life they'd built together. A year ago, she'd stood in Ashford Manor and agreed to marry a man she hated, a man who'd threatened everything she loved. Now that man was her husband, her partner, the father of her child. Life was strange like that. "Thorn," she said. "I'm glad you threatened to ruin my family," she said. Thorn's head snapped up. "What?" Serafina smiled. "Because if you hadn't, I never would have married you, and I never would have found this." "Found what?" Thorn asked. "Happiness," Serafina said simply. Thorn's eyes filled with tears. He leaned forward and kissed her, soft and sweet. "I'm glad I threatened to ruin your family too," he said. Serafina laughed. "That's terrible." "But true," Thorn said. He looked down at their daughter. "I'd do it all again. Every mistake, every lie, if it meant I'd end up here. With you. With her." "No more lies, though," Serafina said. "No more lies," Thorn promised. And as they sat together in the sunlit nursery, holding their daughter, they both knew something for certain. This was home. This was love. This was exactly where they were meant to be. No matter how it started, no matter what threats were made, no matter what pain they'd caused each other. They'd found their way, together, and that was the greatest victory of all.